8 hours after a massive explosion ripped through one of the busiest and densely populated markets of the national capital, one thing is clear: India has a problem within. A white-collar network, a module operated by educated professionals, the likes of doctors, those entrusted with principles of humanity, have now joined the ranks of terror, turning into agents of death. The Delhi blast isn't an isolated act of violence, but a proof of the radicalization threat, one that cannot be downplayed or rationalized any further. How does radicalization take root amongst the educated and privileged? What drives them to turn to terror? The lines between external and internal threats are blurring, demanding a stern, multi-layered response. The fight isn't just against the enemy lurking at the borders, but against ideological manipulation within. So how does one navigate this immense challenge where every action is turned into further fuel for radicalization? That's the big debate coming up with our guests in just a bit. But remember, a short while ago, after landing in India, in the national capital, from his visit to Bhutan, Prime Minister Narendra Modi headed straight to the LNJP hospital and met those injured in the Delhi blast. Following this, the Prime Minister is chairing a meeting of the Cabinet Committee on Security. The CCS meetings are attended by the Defence Minister, Minister of Home Affairs, External Affairs, Finance Minister and National Security Advisor, along with other top security and ministry officials depending on the agenda of the meet. So what is the agenda of this meeting this time around? According to sources, top officials are set to brief the Prime Minister, of course, on the investigation updates. The focus will also be on the international links and terror modules. The Faridabad and Kashmir link to the blast will be discussed, and the radicalization alarm will also be discussed because that is the big concern that is coming to light. What would be the next steps by the government? Now, this is where everybody's eyes are. We're all waiting to hear what is the direction that the government is going to take. It's not going to be an easy one. But, of course, the questions are: it's likely that there will be enhanced surveillance along the line of control in a bid to crack down on infiltration possibilities. There may be heightened cyber monitoring to fight the threat of radicalization from here on. And there may be renewed efforts to bolster intelligence to prevent such attacks in the past. It is indeed a success with a minor blip as far as the information is concerned. But the threat is not over, because through the day, there have been more alerts for at least 2 more cars that have been issued by the Delhi police. The trail of terror isn't just limited to the national capital, even as more focus has been on where these cars could possibly be. But let me trace for you the story that is more troubling for India, because this entire module began in Nagaum. The story began in Nagaum in Jammu and Kashmir, where those Jaish-related posters amplifying the Jaish agenda were put up. This led to arrests both in the valley, but also further brought forward the terror module based out of Faridabad. It's not too far from the national capital. Faridabad is technically part of the NCR region. The investigation teams busted a module there, seized huge amount of explosives and arrested those behind the conspiracy, doctors. Some key actors involved were also picked up from Saharanpur. This is also a matter of concern. The car that was used in the Delhi terror blast was procured in Pulwama, and since a lot of had gone exchanged hands with many others, finally landing with the suspected bomber, Dr. Umar Nabi. The suspected suicide bomber is, of course, the big link that has come to light. But let me also trace for you some of the key agents of death that have been involved as far as this case is concerned. So now what is coming to light is, how did these doctors become terrorists? It was Maulvi Irfan, based in Srinagar, the alleged mastermind and the indoctrinator behind the Faridabad module, whose image has come to light. His arrest from Shopian uncovered a deeper web of radicalization and online propaganda. So then comes the other key actors, including Dr. Nabi, who is, of course, the suspected suicide bomber who was behind the wheels of the I-20. Dr. Muzammil Ahmed Ganei, who was arrested in connection to the Faridabad module. Cops also seized more than 2,900 kilograms of explosives from his house. Dr. Shaheen Shahid, the lady doctor who has been arrested from Lucknow and is believed to be the financer of the module. She also ferried some of the weapons for Muzammil and Dr. Adil Ahmed, who was involved in putting up these Jaish posters and was arrested from Saharanpur with a huge cache of arms and ammunition. So how do these doctors turn into terrorists, and how do you deal with this problem within? That's the big update and the debate that's coming in with our guest.
पुलवामा के डॉक्टर के साथ मिलकर प्लान ऑफ एक्शन, इसका सीधा कानपुर कनेक्शन सामने आया क्योंकि जो डॉक्टर शाहीन है उसने कानपुर के जीएसएम मेडिकल कॉलेज में 2006 में प्रोफेसर के तौर पर ज्वाइन किया।
वहाँ से तलाशी की जो ठीक ठाक से बजट के बाद वहाँ से निकला जैश मोहम्मद के 3 पोस्टर है। हमें नहीं पता, सरदार ने बोला यही वो पोस्टर है जो नागामा में चस्पा।
ये तस्वीरें पहले आप अंदर की देखिए। ऐसे में यूपी एसटीएफ की टीम हो, हरियाणा स्पेशल सेल और की तमाम टीमें जो है अभी भी अंदर मौजूद है और 5 से 6 गाड़ियां अभी भी तमाम इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग टीम्स की अंदर मौजूद है।
Let's go across to our guest joining us, Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, former DG Infantry of the Indian Army, AK Jain, former DGP Uttar Pradesh, Tara Karta, former Director NSCS, and NND Dubey, former DG NIA and former DIG BSF joining us. NND Dubey, I want to begin with you. What has come to light is extremely shocking, if not completely surprising. Not the first time that educated Muslim men and women have been found to be part of terror modules. Not the first time that this has happened in India either. But are you surprised by just the sheer amount of radicalization that would have gone in for doctors to become agents of death? Mr. Dubey?
Actually, sorry, ma'am.
Yes.
Actually, I'm very sure basically the entire process of radicalization has got no connection with the person, whether he's highly educated or he is a foot soldier. Actually, there has been initial era when these things mattered. But again, there is a section in our society which generally propagates the factor that that's a have-not fight. The person who is deprived, is less educated, having no opportunity for employment, these people are very easily motivated to join the radicalization and the terrorism. But if you see the history, even if you see the last 5 to 6 years development, highly educated people, including doctors, have been part of this radical terror system. And the latest outfit which have been burst with the great support of JNK police is an eye-opener for the entire society. I remember the days when these Kashmiri boys used to go for study in medical colleges in Pakistan, and Hurriyat Conference used to allocate the seats. You know who is the Hurriyat Conference? You know the entire story of the front offices of Hurriyat Conference in the Srinagar city. They used to allocate the seats and the money to study in the Pakistan. You think of a situation where these students are spending their 4 to 5 years in Pakistan in some medical college, suppose, what kind of thought process and what kind of motivation they are undergoing. Same situation is in Bangladesh. Our students are joining medical colleges in Bangladesh. You know situations is last 1.5 years, 2 years. The situation is turned in Bangladesh. And who is taking call in Bangladesh? 1 million Rohingyas are being radicalized in Bangladesh. The students who are joining in these countries, including few places in Nepal, ISI is taking advantage of these things. And these people are falling as easy prey. See your situation.
So
the
is
doctor
this...
is of 36 years age.
No, I want to understand. 2 questions that come out of your answer. One, I want to understand from you, is this then the generation that was already brainwashed when Hurriyat was still active, when stone pelting was still active, now coming to fore? Because we've acted on Hurriyat and other separatist agenda in Jammu and Kashmir only in the last, let's say, 5 to 6 years. So do you believe it is that generation that is already brainwashed that is coming to light now, and they're doing what they were already brainwashed to do? Or do you feel
Partly
that this is
that
going to be an
generation.
unending problem despite the curbing of Hurriyat in Jammu and Kashmir?
I tell you, I mean, as you know, the Hurriyat has been dealt with very tough hand
Yes.
by the cases registered by the National Investigation Agency under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act in 2017, 18, 19. So that issue has been very well handled. Now the question is, you take the example of this doctor. He was born in 1989, and 1989 the year when the terrorism started in Kashmir. So you take the complete life of this person. I mean, in the situation of the Kashmir now, these people are coming out of Kashmir. I mean, the person studied from the Government Medical College, Srinagar, Government Medical College, Anantnag. He just joining such terror module at the helm of affairs. That is a very concerning issue. The problem is that we are not keeping tab of these institutions. Sorry to say, I have witnessed few cases in Greater Noida where great universities bearing very great name, they are giving so liberal free hand to their students just for the commercial purpose. Because if you keep these students off guarded, if you keep them happy, the easy remittance of commercials are coming to the institutions and there is nobody to tick off. Complete proctorial board, complete administrative body, they keep silent. And these boys are practicing radical activities inside the university in daytime. I'm not saying that offering namaz is bad. Can you offer namaz in the institution during classes? You cannot. Once I asked this question from the proctor, he told, "अरे ये नाराज हो जाएंगे, admission कम होगा, seats कम भरेगी." We are sold, I tell you. Why as an institution head, it's not my responsibility. What is the activity of this student? How he's doing, what he's doing? It's a job of the society also. We very easily blame the security agency.
No,
Yes.
so is India weak? I want to take this question to Mr. I want to take this to AK Jain because you've been a former DGP of Uttar Pradesh as well. Basically, what's coming to light is that India is weak. It's a weak state that does not want to take the harsh measures because of the fear that it is going to, radicalize or, marginalize mentally at least these people, and therefore this happens. It happens right under our noses. Why is there no greater tab of what is happening of all of this generation that has grown up in terror-ridden Kashmir and brainwashed in their growing up years, moving all across India? There should be, especially after this. Why have we allowed Kashmiri students to go to Pakistan, to Bangladesh to begin with? Why was there never a crackdown on this?
You are absolutely correct. In my opinion, India is a very weak state, and but of late things are changing, and action is being taken. I see it in UP also. That stern action is being taken against radical elements in the society. No action is being taken against a community as such, but whosoever breaks law, very, very stern action is being taken against such people. There are a number of cases, and it had its impact. There is a communal peace. There is a total communal peace in the state. So a stern action will have to be taken. If you are bothered about backlash, or if you think that in media there will be items that very radical action is being taken, very harsh action is being taken, so one should not bother for it. The police forces and intelligence agencies, they are supposed to do their work. They are supposed to do their work diligently. They should not bother about the news items or about the backlash. Genuine people, really culprits, should be caught. No innocent person should be sent to jail. That is for certain. That if you send one innocent person to jail, it brings very bad name. You confirm it, doubly confirm it, but take action if you are confirmed about it that these people are criminal elements. What JNK police has done, Kashmir Srinagar police has done, that SHO has done, he traced the person who was putting up posters, and from that the arrest started from Saharanpur, and this Faridabad nexus, entire nexus was exposed. So many India has been saved from so many blasts because I think, this is my conjecture and this conjecture of so many people, that they were planning large-scale blasts on the anniversary of 26/11, and I think the amount of material they had collected and the preparation which was going on, they would have carried out such blasts, which would have been
Yeah.
very dangerous.
No, but we
Suppose
cannot
they were-
we cannot rest now, given the extent of the kind of nexus that has come to light. And at the center of this entire nexus is also this University of Al Falah. It has become
Yeah.
a completely suspicious entity because of this recent bust. In fact, it has now come to light, Tarakarta, that this university hired a tainted Kashmir doctor, Dr. Nisarul Hasan, who was earlier in November 2023 dismissed by the Jammu and Kashmir LG administration over terror links. He was an assistant professor medicine at the SMHS Hospital, Srinagar, and was some sort of a self-styled president of Doctors Association in Kashmir, and was using that to cover, to spread secessionism under the patronage of the Pakistani proxies. This man is fired by the Jammu and Kashmir administration, but is hired in Al Falah. I mean, what is going on?
I mean, that is certainly a very surprising statement, given that the Al Falah University otherwise is a very well set up organization. It seems to have plenty of money, no lack of it. So how they hired and why they hired this man is extremely surprising. But I just want to dwell a little on this whole, radicalization thing. In any a terror module is still easier to pull up and find because they're looking for weapons, they're looking for stuff, they're moving around. A radicalization network is extremely difficult to pin it down because normally it's been going on for years. Like that one which was in 23 in Spain. Spain, Italian police together caught this Pakistani radicalization gang which had been operating for years. 23 they caught, 23, 24 they carried on. I mean, it took 2.5 years to dismantle that network. It's very difficult. But like you said, if these people, in terms of our de-radicalization efforts, I will agree with the previous speakers, but also I would point to the justice system. You need to have perception of a fair and equitable justice system. We don't have there is much to be left to be desired in terms of how justice is given. How much your forensics are capability, which again we are trying, this government has been trying to pull it up, not fast enough, therefore you can't make a case. So there's a lot of loopholes in our present system which prevents you from getting ahead with cases and getting convictions. But I will agree with the gentleman who spoke earlier. I think we need to evolve a clear societal mandate.
Exactly.
Your religion is outside the educational institution. It is not inside. Your religion is inside your house. You stay there, do what you want. None of this, overt of any kind. Religion, I'm not pointing to any particular religion. Nothing outside all this has to be reduced drastically. Let's be a stable country which brings it and is seen publicly to be even-handed with all. That's all I'd like to say.
Out how these doctors were expressing themselves in their institutions. The institution today claims they have zero knowledge of what they were doing in their spare time, and they had no clue that this was going on. In fact, the ex-husband of Dr. Shaheen Shahid, the female doctor, spoke to the media saying, she was very liberal, she was hardly very dogmatic or religious, wanted to go settle abroad, and things like that. So it's not so much of, what they were doing in their public spaces. But here's the problem, which we don't want to look at because it's uncomfortable for India with a large Muslim population. The problem is, look at this Maulvi Irfan, who has come to light. Now, it is clear in case after case after case that there is indoctrination taking place inside these masjids, but nobody wants to do anything, Lieutenant General. That's the problem. You don't want to do it because you want to respect this space as a religious space. You don't want to be seen as cracking down on it. But majority of the indoctrination is coming from Maulvis and it's happening inside masjids. What are we going to do about this?
Shivani, thank you. The very outset, first and foremost, yes, India is a soft state. Second, most of us who are deployed there don't even know how to read Urdu. If all these posters would come up there, most of us wouldn't know. It's fortunate that someone over there found out as to what is written there. Not many can read what is written there. Not many can understand what they speak there. We may have been there for years on. Each one of us goes there for a few years and comes out of it and expecting others. Thirdly, they're dramatists. You will find them now come out with such stories, such soft stories. Don't know anybody. Nothing has ever happened. I don't know what has happened. Total drama-baji that they are experts at. See, look at their physical appearances. Look at their activities. Look at that Al Falah University, 2013, heart of Dubai. That's the way where the charity is coming into India for. For what? For an 80-acre land. See the number of students enrolled. See the kind of thing. You would know yourself what is going on there. We are blind. We won't be blind. And that's
Why?
the whole thing.
No, but why? Why under this government too? Do we want to be blind to these threats? Do we think that development alone will solve this? Clearly, all experts I speak to say this is not a developmental problem.
Now the question arises, Shivani, why are this? It isn't that these people weren't there. It was always this indoctrination, radicalization was always associated with politicians there in the valley. We have all been there after 20 years. Don't I know what these politicians are all about? What is it that they're talking about? It is now that they find that it's not easy to get these law people to work for them because it's getting more and more difficult. So they now confined it to themselves. Most of the things you walk into some of their districts, Jamaat-e-Islami have always had a women wing. What are we talking about? Jaish-e-Mohammed wanting to have it and Masood Azhar's sisters there. Jamaat-e-Islami, I've been there, I've been dealing with these women over there. Not now, 20 years back I'm talking about. So this is nothing new. We all know and everything is there. It is just that this time everything worked well. I think the police acted superbly. There is no denying the fact that everybody did and everything happened in the right time and we have averted a great tragedy.
Okay.
But the fact still remains that these people are not to be trusted. Number one. Number two, how many in the government college, medical college of Srinagar are people who are not from that area? I would like to know. How many of them are there? All of them are the same. So it's very difficult and it is time now that we acted tough. Tough in the sense, if there are 6 siblings. I have known a family, 7 siblings. One of them is a tehsildar, yet another one is a plumber, yet another one is an Anganwadi worker, yet another one is a teacher, fourth one is doing nothing, and yet one among them is a militant. What does he do? He brings in goodwill. The entire family has got a huge house, excellent, fantastic, not a man in that entire village will ever look at them. Why? Because that militant is the man who's getting them the goodwill. And now all of them will disown him. That we don't know.
No, in fact, since you speak of this, I want to run these reactions from the families of these suspects who have been nabbed. All of them say the same thing, that this man was very nice. Some are saying the man was very soft-hearted. They all are educated clearly. They had professions to take care of. They had something to lose. You know, we have this tendency to think that if you have a decent life and something to lose, you're not going to go down this path. But the families are completely unaware of what's going on. Do we find this believable or not? I'll come to you in with that. But let's listen into these families.
मुझे लगता है वो निर्दोष है, उसको ये फोर्सफुली कराया गया है या उसको पर ये इल्ज़ाम लगाया गया हो, ये बात मैं बोल सकती हूँ।
तो कानून पे ये भरोसा है कि
हाँ।
वो छूटेंगे?
हाँ?
कानून पे आपको पूरा भरोसा है तो वो से?
हाँ, वो छूटेंगे इंशाल्लाह।
काम क्या कर रहे थे?
वो एज ए प्रोफेसर वहाँ पढ़ा रहे थे। कुछ भी नहीं कहा, उन्होंने उनको ले लिया, बोला कि हमें थोड़ी सी पूछताछ करनी है। वो ज़्यादा बातें भी नहीं करता था, बस अपने काम में मशगूल रहता था।
कैसा मूड रहता था उनका?
मूड तो सर बहुत ठीक रहता था, कभी इस तरह की चीज़ें नहीं हुई, कभी कोई मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा कोई गुस्सा नहीं करते थे, बड़ा विनम्र तरीके से बात करते थे।
क्या एकांत में रहना पसंद करते थे?
नहीं, एकांत में भी नहीं, पेशेंट काफ़ी देर तक उनके पास बैठे रहते थे, बात करते रहते थे, पेशेंट के बच्चों से खेलते रहते थे।
जो कल से पिक्चर हम देख रहे हैं दिल्ली ब्लास्ट के बाद, कहा जा रहा था कि ये तारिक है, लेकिन आप बता रहे हैं ये तारिक नहीं है।
हमारे घर में कोई तारिक ही नहीं है। हमारे घर में उमर रशीद है, दूसरा है आमिर रशीद, बस वो दो।
क्या उन्होंने कोई गाड़ी ली थी बाहर से, कहीं HR नंबर की गाड़ी? जो
नहीं, हमारी गाड़ी ये है, आप देख सकते हैं, JK नंबर की है।
Mr. Dubey, I want to come to you with this. In some ways, I believe that yes, it's possible that your parents, aged parents, extended family, siblings may not know much about your private life, because these are not kids, right? These are adults. They all have their own lives. They're also working, living in other cities. But do you feel it believable that the families would have zero clue of what's going on?
There is a possibility that family might not be knowing the vital clues, but indications cannot be hidden. I mean, these radical elements, they give the indications. So I cannot completely believe the family members that they are clueless. Yes, but in some cases, they remain clueless. Tata Institute of Social Sciences, TIS had conducted a study 9 years before in Kashmir about the radicalization. I am privy to that report. And these imams, these basically clerics, Ahle Hadith clerics imported from our hinterland, particularly from Bihar and UP. If you listen to azan in the morning in Kashmir, a typical Kashmiri imam recites the namaz in a very different tone. Even in the early morning, we used to listen to azan from our own houses once we were deployed, and we were able to clearly tell that this person is not a local person. So the most radicalization has been done by this Darbhanga area, UP ka kuch area. I mean, the people who basically travel from these places to occupy the places of Imam in Kashmir, these are the clerics. JNK police have been keeping tab on those people. They used to go to give hazri in the police station. That I remember. There was a complete list of these Imams, these clerics, and in the study it was proved. It is basically the Imams, the Maulvis in these institutions who are main instrument to radicalize these boys.
But sir,
so
why
they are
don't
the
we
main
act
source
on
of
them?
radicalization.
I don't understand. How long are we going to just keep talking about this? Why don't we act on this?
That is the issue. That is the issue, because the political process in Kashmir, as you know, because of obvious reason, have seen many ups and downs in the last 20 years. 1996 first JNK Assembly election after turmoil had happened, and I was a nodal officer in 1996 in the same South Kashmir area. These two bombers, February 2019, Gaon Gundibagh, Kakapura Pulwama, Adil Ahmed Dar, that was my responsibility area. The current Dr. Umar, he is from Koil village, just on the down stairs of the Avantipur airfield. So there is an area of 15 to 20 kilometers along the Jhelum river. All suiciders belong to that particular area. और कश्मीर से रिलेटेड आतंकवाद साउथ कश्मीर पुलवामा के इन्वॉल्वमेंट के बगैर हो ही नहीं सकता. So South Kashmir is the most important area to put on the radar, and the clerics who are practicing, who are associated in radicalization, there have been clerics in Anantnag who used to travel from abroad. He's completely holding a 5,000, 10,000 people's gathering, and he's talking about it. It's known. So I think we have to catch the root of radicalization. And these imams and clerics are the biggest source to radicalize in Kashmir.
Well, that is certainly coming to light one more time. Mr. Jain, you look at these areas in Haryana, or you look at these areas next to the Faridabad University, even they are considered hot spots, tinderpots of radicalization. What have we done about this?
Not much has been done. Haryana government should take action. There are some pockets in Haryana where anything is possible. We all are aware of it. Only MLAs of one community, they win elections over there, and no one else is allowed to penetrate those areas.
I have heard, sir, I want to know from you, I have heard that in Mewad, police dare not enter, it's a no-go area.
Yes, you are absolutely correct. No, they go, but they go in large numbers. 1 or 2 people, they cannot go and take action. So that is not possible in those areas. In UP, there have been several studies, and several madrasas. At several madrasas, it was found that people of very, very doubtful antecedents, they were teaching. From where the funding was coming, who all were funding the madrasas, who all were teaching at madrasas, it was not known. What all was being taught. Now it is all under scanner, and this should be done. This should be done because poisoning is being done from madrasa stage, when they are very small kids. So some people are poisoning these people. Same thing is happening at masjids also. So that is very dangerous. In UP, there have been incidents after Friday mosque. Hundreds attacked the police after coming out of the mosque. You have gone to pray there. You have not gone to there to. You have not collected there to attack police. So that is alarming, and that's why action is being taken. And because action is being taken, I can say it with certainty. Things are in a much better shape in the state.
Okay.
It's a very communally surcharged state, and there have been such big riots in the past. Now nothing is happening because action will happen.
I understand that, but this fear of it becoming communal, Tarakarta, we need to get out of this fear, because in protecting innocent lives is more important than sensibilities. I'm sorry to say this. Enough has to be enough sometimes. If there is a radicalization problem amongst a certain community, it has to be dealt with, whether that community likes it or not. Ideally, they should be the ones at the forefront.
Absolutely. In there, I would agree with you 100%. It's high time the religious leaders here took a hand in, what they're talking of, in getting to understand what are these people teaching. And I completely agree. The no-go areas, by the way, Shivani, is not just in UP. There are other areas down south where you can't, as a Hindu, I can't go there. I can't sell my land. I can't get a job there. There are lots of areas like these, which your point is very right. All this started somewhere in the late 1990s. And it has a new generation. That question you asked is very important, Shivani. A new generation would be quite different. This is from that generation which saw the height of militancy. So arising from that, any measures you take, and I think the point about Maulvis, while being absolutely vital, please don't lump all of them into the same basket. We have won over Kashmir through blood, literally with blood and hard work, and we need to keep that. They are our people.
Okay.
They are Indians. So let's not make this about Kashmir. Let's make this about terrorism.
No, absolutely. But here's the problem. You can bomb Jaish-e-Mohammed training centers in Pakistan. What do you do with terrorists within? These men and women are no less than any Pakistani terrorists, right? So yes, our hands are tied in terms of what we can do, but we cannot be sitting by and feeling helpless about the fact that these 4 or 5 men, doctors no less, can come together and decide they're going to blow up people in the national capital. And we're going to keep quiet about this. We're not going to talk about why this happens.
No, Shivani, as Indians, that's worse than Pakistanis. I can still accept a Pakistani doing that. That's his problem. But an Indian doing this is 10 times worse.
Yes, but we don't talk about this enough. My only problem is because of niceties involved, or because of quote-unquote communalism involved or secularism involved, we don't talk about this enough. Why is it bad to talk about this, and why should anybody be afraid to talk about the problem that is staring in our faces? And why do some people, just go quiet and bury themselves in their holes when this happens? Where are they?
Absolutely. I 100% I would agree. We need to take this head on.
Yes, niceties have to be dropped. You cannot question governments and their actions, and when something like this happens, while at the same time keep crying about communalism in India, keep crying about marginalization, keep crying about how there is quote unquote a genocide going on in India. This is not done. You can't have it both ways. And then you go quiet when members of a certain community come out and carry out blasts. In the last 6-7 months, some 8 modules have been busted. 8 modules.
No, there is no, if you're asking me, sorry.
No, go ahead. No.
Yeah, no, there is no question at all that you need to take. This time, the integration from JK police to UP police to Haryana police, excellent integration. People work together. This we need to push, number one. Number two is what we said about religious leaders. They have to take action against these people on the ground.
I think, Tarakarta, I only disagree on one point. Religious leaders are one part of the story. Where are the common public? Where are, we saw anti-CAA protests. Where are the anti-Al-Falah protests? Why is nobody protesting about this? Why is nobody protesting about the fact that 4 doctors from a university are part of a Jaish-linked module? Who's going to protest about this?
I think it's not. It is.
It's a community. I'm sorry, but it's a community problem. Lieutenant General, you want to come in very quickly before I move on?
See, Shivani, nation comes first always and every time. If anybody thinks ideology or their faith comes first, sorry, they need to be told in no uncertain terms, nation comes first. Secondly, what happened in 89, 90 that we talk about? Who was the Home Minister? Who was the J&K Chief Minister? We all know what is happening over there. And despite that, trying to be soft, trying to take them along, it's okay. We must. There are people. But the fact is, amongst them, people must now step out and say, well, this is not acceptable. This is something which is bringing a bad name to 99% of that community. Just for 1% of that aberration community is bringing a bad name. And therefore, until and unless people themselves, the citizens have to come out. And
yeah, it's not just enough to say, oh, you know, these people, they don't belong amongst us. They are not one of us. They have no religion. That is not sufficient anymore. The community needs to come forward and take responsibility for the fact that it is happening in the name of religion. If they believe this is not right, then they need to be at the forefront of it, right? But that reform hasn't been forthcoming from within. That is a problem. So if you don't reform from within, then reform will be imposed on you. But then that becomes ugly, unfortunately.